What's up, folks? It's Chili here. There is some news about a new Age of Empires 4 DLC expansion. There's already been some brief previews about it that I haven't yet commented on. I wanted to wait until there was a substantial amount of stuff to talk about before I make a video about it. And also, I've been pretty out of the loop and just busy with work these days. So haven't been really paying attention too much to everything that's been going on in the Age of Empires sphere. But today we got a massive amount of information here, and I want to go over it with you guys and also do a deep dive into all of the different pictures that we saw, as well as try to analyze like some of the potential units and mechanics that are going to be coming in these new civs. So let's just start by reading through it. Dive into the action of Age of Empires 4 Knights of Cross and Rose. Already on the splash image here, we see this this knight here with a warhammer, a very massively sized warhammer, a bunch of archers in the background with the hoods on, almost looking like some Robin Hood characters. And then over on the left here, we see a Templar knight. Almost looks AI generated in the way that it's standing a little bit. Is it just me, or is it a little bit uncanny? Also with a Teutonic knight in the background, as well as a bunch of other figures that definitely look kind of AI generated. I wouldn't be surprised if this was like an AI augmented picture, but I don't want to throw too many accusations here. I'm sure the artists on the team are very talented. Let's dive into it. Prepare to embark on an epic journey with Knights of Cross and Rose, the newest Age of Empires 4 DLC, set to release this spring. While we're still putting the finishing touches on this exciting release, we wanted to pull back the curtain and provide an overview of what you can expect from Knights of Cross and Rose. Whether you're a seasoned strategist or newer to the series, this DLC delivers rich, historically inspired content that can be enjoyed across a variety of modes, including 2 variant civilizations, the Knights Templar and the House of Lancaster, for which the DLC is named. Get a fresh look into the opportunities afforded with the variant civilizations, allowing us to deeply expand upon the concept. I don't know if that last sentence makes too much sense grammatically. Anyways, so this came as quite a bit of a surprise. So there was some murmurs that there was going to be a Crusader civ coming out. They did tease us with a photo previously. Now we finally get confirmation that's actually the Knights Templar. So for folks that are familiar with my channel, you'll know that I worked on a Crusader civilization, modded civilization with Hossein, and I think it's interesting because there is some hints that the official civilization is going to take some elements of that. I'm a little bit surprised that they went specifically with the Knights Templar rather than just calling it the Crusader States. Maybe Crusaders is too controversial a topic. I don't know. Templars are also kind of controversial when it comes to history. House of Lancaster being the English variant is rather surprising. Not something that I was expecting. A very relatively niche history topic for folks who aren't too familiar with English medieval history, but really interesting. Yeah, I'm surprised that they kind of went in this direction. So 2 new variant civilizations, 10 new maps for skirmish and multiplayer, and a new game mode, historical battles. 10 new maps is quite a lot, actually. I already feel like there's kind of too many maps in this game, and I personally think that the game could use less maps, not more. And the historical battles sounds like a way to do some campaign set pieces without like fully building out a campaign. Which is kind of interesting. Aging up variant civilizations. While base civilizations like the English and French allow us to explore a broad range of human history, variant civilizations provide a unique opportunity to deep dive into specific moments in time and unearth the stories within. This is the design philosophy the team believes in, and with Knights of Cross and Rose, the team was able to expand upon this concept with feedback from the community fresh in mind. I'm personally a little bit disappointed that we're going back to European history. I feel like there was already quite a touch of European history in the base game. I was hoping to see more diversity in the expansion, but you know, I get that, you know, the European civs sell the most, and they are also the most popular since they're the easiest to play. One thing we heard loud and clear from players is the importance of staying true to history as much as possible, while still presenting fun gameplay mechanics, even with variant civilizations. This was a huge complaint when it came to the previous DLC, which initially wanted to add things like the Jade Empire, I think it was called, or something Jade, and then they were also going to do like the Sultan's Army or something like that, just like. And then of course like Jeanne d'Arc. Everyone was really ass mad about Jeanne d'Arc being a civilization. I think I'm generally pretty glad that they went with a more history touch here. I almost wonder if they leaned too deeply into the history touch with things that are too specific. Like the AOEIVs were also already kind of like very specific as far as like a specific kind of Arabic dynasty. And then now with the House of Lancaster, a specific English dynasty is also like, I don't know. I don't know if that's like the most exciting direction for them to go in. Knights Templar or like a Crusader State Civ definitely is the right direction for them to go in as far as like pop history goes. With that in mind, we've given the Knights Templar and the House of Lancaster a more direct civilization treatment, drawing inspiration from the moments in time these well-known groups inhabited and aiming for a high-level authenticity as much as possible. Not only are we leaning more into history as our compass when it comes to overall design, but we're also packing in more content. These variants bring with them even more unique units, upgrades, and abilities to ensure they stand out from their base civilization in meaningful ways. In the case of the Knights Templar, there are no shared traits, bonuses, units, or upgrades between them and the French civilization. Okay, interesting. So no traits, bonuses, units, or upgrades with the French civilization. So it means that they're not as focused on just like royal knights. Probably don't have arbitraires as well. I wonder if it still means that they have like the influence bonus with the French keep, and I wonder if it still means that they have the same landmarks. I don't know in general if Age of Empires is really the game to be focusing on history about. Like, I know I'm one of the more as far as content creators in the sphere goes, I'm one of the more sticklers when it comes to historical accuracy, or at least historical inspiration. But even I gotta say, like, Age of Empires is not really a game for true history fans. It's kind of like, you know, the whole thing's a kind of abstraction. It's something that you played when you were a kid. The vibe is very cartoony and like minimalistic. So I personally would have preferred like the history aspect be more like focusing on the pop culture elements of history, the things that are really popular, that gets people excited, and as like an early stepping stone into like going into deeper history. So things like Jeanne d'Arc holding a gun is kind of silly, but at the same time going deep into like some kind of like unique units unique to the House of Lancaster is maybe too specific for the type of history fan that plays this game. That's just my 2 cents though. We're gonna dive into these pictures. There's a lot to dig into there, so I'll get into that in just a little bit. The Knights Templar. Knights Templar, while a well-known historical group, were neither a state nor a kingdom. As a military order, they were comprised of individuals from a variety of nations. This unique situation allowed our team to some degree of creative freedom when exploring how to best represent the Knights Templar in gameplay. While their unit roster is powerful, it's the Knights Templar's unique recruitment system that we believe will give them a fun strategic edge. Historically, Templar commanderies were also established in nearly every European kingdom, acting as a source of power and prestige for the order. With Knights of Cross and Rose, this system is brought to life with the commandery age-up system, in which you can select one of 3 allies with each age to receive a permanent bonus and a unique unit. Did we mention yet that the Knights Templar have a lot of unique units? Furthermore, the Templars have a lot of castles, fortresses, and various fortifications around Europe and the Levant. Thus, the fortress, their unique keep, plays a key strategic role in their overall gameplay. I know people kind of get a hard-on for unique units. I think, personally, unique units for unique units' sake is actually not good design. I think it actually does a lot to pollute the space. So for instance, like one of my favorite Civ designs in the game, well, almost one of my favorite Civ designs in the game is definitely the HRE, the Holy Roman Empire. And they, starting out, they only had 2 unique units, really. It was the Lance Connect and the Prelate. And they also had the Man-at-Arms that had the unique upgrades. But like, because they have so few unique units, the whole civilization, though, kind of like plays around those 2 unique units, such that every single time you play against the HRE, they have a very strong, unique identity. Even though their unique units are not very distinct or numerous, they still had a very strong identity. And compare that to like the AOEIVs, for instance, where like the AOEIVs have a bunch of like random unique units like mixed into that, like especially like the bizarre unique units, the one that the guy with the 2 swords, and then like there's like a guy that throws javelins, the Bedouin units. Like those things are just like, why are they even there? I actually feel like in a game like Age of Empires, especially a game like Age of Empires 4, like the game is very much following a minimalistic design palette, such that like it's very easy for competitive players to read what kind of units they're going up against. This allows them to like effectively choose what units to counter with. When you get a bunch of like too many units for players, especially new players, to memorize, it becomes increasingly untenable to like play the game competitively. So I actually don't like the idea of adding a bunch of like unique one-off units. I personally would have preferred the Knights Templar to just get like a handful of unique units, and then like maybe, you know, take advantage of the fact that they are kind of like trans-European, so it would be great for them to get unique units from all these other civilizations. That is the direction I went in with the modded civilization that I built with Hossein for the Crusader states. I also kind of wish that they went that direction as well. I get that unique units sells. I just don't know if this is the right place for it, and I don't know if it's healthy for the overall good of the game in the long run. The more unique units, the more complex this game gets, the harder it is for new players to get in, the less staying power this game will have. So that's just another of my 2 cents on this. House of Lancaster. The House of Lancaster were key players in 2 of the most formative wars in European medieval history, the War of the Roses and the 100 Years' War. The Lancasters were known for their unparalleled ranged tactics on the battlefield and an unyielding patronage of arts and sciences. These historical elements inspired much of the gameplay when bringing the House of Lancaster variant civilization to life in this upcoming DLC. Not only does this variant civilization come equipped with a powerful ability called Synchronized Shot, which allows for wide-ranging volley shot, but they're also bolstered by the Manor, a unique building that also generates resources. Okay, so I don't see the Manor here, but I'm guessing this is like what's happening with the Synchronized Shot. And again, we'll take a deeper dive into more high-resolution photos in just a second. But interesting. I like that they're trying something different with the English playstyle. It seems like they're still going to have a more defensive lean here. While the Knights Templar provide sleek and wholly new game options, the House of Lancaster serves as a departure from their English-based civilization while still providing a generally intuitive playstyle that leans towards defensive strategies. Okay, cool. So it still like plays English as defensive. I kind of was hoping for a bit of variance. I know I came up with a variant concept for the English that was the that was also a Crusader civilization centered around like Richard the Lionheart. I guess I personally would have liked to see English kind of like play very differently in their variant, but I'm curious to see what this means. Historical battles. The new single-player mode, Historical Battles, deviates from the traditional narrative-focused campaign by narrowing in on select moments in history notable to the Knights Templar and the House of Lancaster. While these historical battles aim to enrich the gameplay experience with elements common to the campaign, including storybook-style cinematics and voice acting, their vignette quality as standalone missions allows us to create history as an inspiration for a challenging set of objectives that, in some cases, put the power to defy history in the player's hands. Some of these battles start in desperate situations that were historical defeats for your armies to command, for the armies that you'll command, such as the Siege of Safed. This particular setup begs the question: with your wits and cunning, can you hold back the might of Biber's army that defeated the Knights Templar? Yeah. Is anyone really playing Age of Empires for like the true historical immersion? I think Age of Empires for historical inspiration makes a lot of sense, but like going hard on the historical battles is maybe not the right direction to go in. I don't know. I just I don't see in the long term this being like the thing that really hits Age of Empires off. I know there's a lot of history fans out there that maybe disagree with my take on this. I just don't think I really get the true history vibe when I play any of these campaign missions. It's too like simplified, too like minimalistic in the translation to gameplay that like I don't really feel like I'm defending Jerusalem or whatever. I would say like Total War is a lot more appropriate for like historical battles. Even something like Mountain Blade is a lot more historically almost like realistic feeling or like simulation feeling, whereas like Age of Empires is very much a kind of like almost like a chess game that takes aesthetic inspiration from history. Again, I'm sure a lot of you guys are disagreeing with me as I'm saying this right now. A core element of these battles is that players are scored and ranked by their performance through an associated medal system, meaning we had to take a fundamentally different approach to the mission design. In the classic campaign format, missions are more linear, with a singular focus on describing the actual event. With historical battles, we have filled the maps with secrets, traps, and more to promote exploration. This leads to the battles being puzzle-like in nature, which means that it's not a play once and be done with it experience, but instead a mode that challenges you to optimize your play over repeated attempts. Players looking for an additional level of challenge have the option of unlocking Conqueror mode based on decisions made during the mission. Oh, I actually really like this. This is really cool. So the campaign is more linear, whereas the historical battles have maps filled with secrets and promote exploration. Okay, that's pretty cool. I like the idea of like a puzzle-like battle. it's I've said this a few times on this channel now. Like StarCraft 2, one of my favorite campaigns for RTS in all of RTS gaming, mainly because of the aspect that like you can like choose to go down different paths and get unlock different abilities that make you play the game differently. And that made your army feel like your own. I don't know if with one-off historical battles you really get that same feeling. I would love to see like a historical battle almost take like, I don't know if you guys ever played like Legends of Runeterra. It's like the League of Legends Hearthstone version, but they had this like game mode where you like kind of build your own deck as you collect additional cards and additional power-ups. I forgot what the mode is called, but I would love to see something like that with Age of Empires. I feel like that would be the easiest layup of a kind of a campaign single-player style of mode for this kind of game. It's right there, and it would have infinite replayability, and I would even start playing that a crap ton. We expect this style of content to resonate with a broader audience as it melds aspects of narrative common to campaigns with the replayability and strategic opportunities of skirmish. We're looking forward to hearing what you think of this approach to single player modes. Okay, yeah, cool. Like I said, I would love to see something more like the Runeterra approach, where you can like get different upgrades and like go down a almost like a what's the word? A rogue-like style of gameplay. Personally, I think that there's a lot of potential for Age of Empires to do that. I don't think what I described is even moddable. If it was, I would love to try to get some modders to try to build that up. But you know, until we get to that stage, I hope like Bitterlin or like someone else is listening and considers like doing a roguelike campaign. Okay, let's dive into the images next. There's so much to talk about here. Okay, so with this, I've assembled a ton of high-resolution images. We can dive into all the details and try to spot every single unique unit coming in this new expansion, and just speculate a little bit more about how these civs work. Let's start with this one right here, because I was already talking about it briefly. You can see this is the House of Lancaster with their English spearmen. The English spearmen look like standard English spearmen here. And then right here is a unique unit, probably a unique Lancaster kind of longbowman, maybe even to replace the basic longbowman. The way they are designed, it almost looks like they're reusing some assets from the game already. Like those hats look like the Lance Connect hats, but I can't really tell. I like that the arrows that they're firing, so this is like the most notable thing here, right? Like all the arrows are firing at the same time, and it seems like that is going to create some kind of bonus. So in Age of Empires, there's not really any actual benefit to volley fire, because in real life, the point of volley fire is that like it kind of comes in these like waves, and like you just feel like immense like morale pressure with all these arrows raining down on you all at once, rather than like arrows sporadically coming in. I don't know if like volley fire is, I don't know how they would implement it in game. Realistically speaking, I'm sure they just like give some kind of damage bonus to it to make it a little bit more impactful. On the other side, I think these are just the French men-at-arms as well as a couple of French horsemen, so nothing too weird there. And then I also wonder if this, I think this is just a neutral market, right? This is not anything special. This is probably not the manor that they're talking about, because that would be a huge building in that case. Let's go on to maybe this picture next. Again, we see the archers here. I'm pretty sure that's a Lance Connect hat with the feather removed, and then the body is the what's the name of the age 4 archer for the English? Oh crap, what am I thinking? It's the age 4 archer that comes out of the landmark. I completely forgot the name right now, but I'm spazzing out. Anyways, you get the idea. They're kind of reusing a few different assets here. We see this pikeman over here, which is interesting. I think this is the standard English spearman, just in age 4, and we're seeing a weird perspective of it. And then here we have the English knights. This seems to be the same unit that is over here. This looks like a Warhammer man-at-arms, so like a special man-at-arms using a Warhammer. It seems to have a lot of similar assets to the HRE man-at-arms, at least from the model aesthetic. It's very different looking compared to the English man-at-arms, that's for sure. Up in the front here, we see, ooh, these are the Crusaders or the Templars. We see the English knights squaring off against some French-looking horsemen, so it looks pretty standard French horsemen for this variant civilization. And then here are the Here are the Templar Knights. It's interesting to note that the Templar Knights are wearing armor that is already technically in the game. So we already have the Knights Templar, the Teutonic Knights, and the Knights Hospitaller, as well as the Grandmaster versions. This Templar Knight seems to be the Grandmaster model, but without the golden helmet. Normally, the Grandmaster Templar Knight has a golden helmet, at least in the current campaign for Sultan's Ascend. And then over here, we have the standard French Spearman. I don't know what's happening to this dude right here. And then here is some, I'm guessing Templar Men-at-Arms is my guess here. Looks like the exact same unit model as over here, just dismounted and without the fancy cape. Looks good. I'm excited to see what this unit does. So in the modded civ that I worked on with Hossein, the Templars were designed to be kind of like fulfilling their own niche. So this is one of the things I'm really worried about with the potential of like adding a ton of new unique units, is that in this game, every unique unit kind of fulfills their own niche, such that when there is a unique unit, it like feels really impactful and really changes the way you approach strategy. I don't want a situation where like all the unique units are just kind of like meshing and blending in with each other and just have like slight like damage or stat tweaks between each other. Then you end up with something like Age of Empires 3, where it's just a bunch of different stats tweaked around, and no unit truly feels unique. And then as a result, when you play the civilization, you're not playing it in a very unique way either. So I hope we don't run into that situation. I like the direction that we took with the modded Crusader civ. The modded Crusader civs, the Templars were basically like almost like a poor man's fire lance. They basically had an AOE charge. They had a very long distance charge copied over from the AOEIV Camel Lancer. For the mods in AOE 4, you can't make completely new abilities, so you have to kind of mix and match what already exists. So we took the AOEIV Camel Lancer charge, where the longer you charge, the more damage you do, combined with the AoE damage of a Fire Lance, but like slightly reduced the AoE damage, so it's not too ridiculous, and the Fire Lancer doesn't completely lose their identity, and then made it so that the Knights Templar were kind of a glass cannon knight that really preferred charging. It kind of fits with their historical identity of being more of like a zealot faction among the Crusaders, and it reminds me of like I don't know if you guys ever played Total War, but back in Medieval 2 Total War, there's this mod called Broken Crescent, which I played the shit out of, and they had a bunch of different Crusader knights there as well, and the Templars were known for having a very strong charge, like a very, very strong hit and run kind of playstyle. And yeah, I'm not sure what they'll do with the Man-at-Arms. This is I hope there's a shared identity between these two, otherwise it would be pretty confusing. Maybe these guys might have like a stronger charge or something like that if they decide to go with a similar kind of theming for their Templars. All right, moving on to, let's go over to this picture right here. So many interesting units to look at. First thing that stands out to me is right here. This is a melee sword cavalry for the House of Lancaster. So this is something that we haven't seen before. It almost makes me think of like English light cavalry. I'm thinking like Hobilars, I think they're pronounced. But Hobilars usually use spears, and they're more of like an Irish style unit. I'm not sure what this is. This might be like a mounted sergeant or something like that. The small round shields, the way the armor styling is happening, the light horses. I'm very curious to see what direction they take with this unit. The fact that it is wielding a sword makes it very, very different from the standard horseman. And the fact that we haven't seen a Lancaster horseman variant means that this might just be the replacement horseman for this civilization. On top of that, here we have the standard hand cannon. Looks just like the regular English hand cannon. This is interesting right here. This is, what is that? Because like this is the English knight, the Imperial Age knight. And it seems like this is a very different kind of knight right here. Almost looks like a demi-lancer or something like that. I know I'm just like, I'm counting pixels at this point, but I do wonder if this is another unique unit, or if it's just like an English Age 3 knight that just found their way into this photo, because otherwise that is very weird looking. English spearmen, very standard. Here again, we see the men-at-arms with the warhammers. Interesting to note here, it looks like they're doing some kind of throwing animation. It almost looks like they're throwing these daggers right here. So my guess is that this English like dismounted knight man-at-arms with the warhammer has some kind of like rondel throw that happens. Maybe this is even a tech that they can research, almost similar to the Donzos, the way the Donzos throw a spear initially. That would be pretty interesting. And of course we have this Hero King unit. We saw the same Hero King unit over here. I don't know my War of the Roses history quite that well, so I can't take a guess as to who this is. I just want to say Edward. Maybe that's like an English king or something like that. He seems to be holding the Lance Connect Zweihander, just reusing the assets. I think the English king in the game currently already uses like a two-handed Zweihander sword incorrectly, but it's just more for styling purposes. Again, we see the regular archer here, or rather the Lancaster archer here, as well as some regular English crossbows, so nothing too unique over there. Over on the other side is is this the French? I think this is the French. Oh no, this is also the Templars again. Okay, interesting. So, okay, so we see this, the Templar men-at-arms down here. We see regular spearmen. These are regular French spearmen. These are regular French archers. These are not regular French crossbows, or rather, the French normally have arbalètres, so they don't have normal crossbow units. I wonder if this is like a unique crossbow unit, or if it's just the standard Templar crossbow unit, basically to replace the arbalètres. The padding in the armor here, I don't know, I'm almost thinking like a Genoese crossbowman unit, but I would be surprised if they didn't go with some kind of Pavese crossbow unit later down the line for this civ. I don't know, we'll take a look at a few of the other photos here as well. And then up here we see a very interesting unit. This is not something that we've seen before either. It looks like they have the flat top helm, very similar to the Age 2 horseman for the HRE. They have a very similar helmet model. Then the horse barding here shows the English flag. So I know that this is a little bit of a spoiler, but like there's a hint here with that the Templars age up with different civilizations' help. So we can see flags from different civilizations over here. So I wonder if this is like an English like unique unit that the Templars can get access to. In which case this battle is kind of ironic. But it seems like it's both a light cavalry unit and also has a charge, which is relatively unique for the game. We haven't seen a light cavalry unit with a lance just yet. So curious about that. Let's go ahead and dive. Oh, and also just want to point out this trebuchet is clearly shooting a fire projectile. So very similar to the Byzantines. I think the Byzantines are the only folks with a trebuchet that shoots a fire projectile. So I wonder if that's what this is all about. I also wonder, does this look a little bit smaller? Is this a different kind of trebuchet? Like a traction trebuchet or something? I don't know. Maybe I'm just misreading that. And they have a siege tower, just teasing us because this thing is useless. But the model looks good. Okay, let's take a look at this photo here since we already took a look at it. So first thing I want to call out is that it seems like the Templars will age up with different kinds of civilizations helping them. This kind of reminds me of the African civs in AOE 3, where they can choose among a few different like allies to support them, and then they get access to some unique units from that tribe. So you can imagine something similar here. It seems like there's like a unique unit associated with each flag. So first off is this like clearly a French flag, or maybe like a Norman flag even. I'm not sure. The only reason I say Norman is because it seems like these are very English coded units. You can see their flat top helmets as well as this like this cross here. Alternatively, it could just be said that this is just the Templar flag, because the Templar flag is white and black with a red cross on it, so maybe that's all this is. And I was reading too much into it when I was saying that these are like English units. These could be like a French sergeant type of unit, or like a mounted man-at-arms or something like that. Oh, maybe a gendarme. Gendarme literally means man-at-arms after all, and that could be like a French predecessor to a later medieval gendarme type of unit. Over here we see the flag. I think that's the flag of Castile, like this flag of Spain, or proto-medieval Spain. And these are definitely jinetes. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but these are mounted javelineers. I would be shocked to see them not have the ability to throw the javelins while they're also riding. So this might be like a Mongolai style unit. They're wearing the Adarga shields, which look beautiful. Looks like almost like a different texture compared to what you see. So the Abbasid and the Ayyubid units, I think the men-at-arms currently wield an Adarga shield. So the fact that they kind of like swapped that over here and then gave them, it looks kind of like Mauryan helmets, to me that spells that this had some unique model work done that's not in the base game, because those helmets I don't think exist right now, but I might be wrong. And the javelins that they're throwing also seem to have like a little bit of a crook there. I don't know if that's just from, I don't know if that's from like the Donzos or something like that. Maybe they like copied the model and there's an issue with the rigging. But yeah, that looks really cool too. I'm very excited to see this unit. I kind of don't like the fact that we're getting it for the Templars, because again, I feel like in Age of Empires 4, like when you have a unique unit for a civilization, it really matters. It really defines how that civilization plays. And so if you give a civilization all these like random ass unique units, I think it makes the design really haphazard and hard to read, and then as a result, it makes it harder to play against, and it's less user friendly for, especially for newbier players. I think it also makes me wonder, like does this hint at a potential Castile civilization or like a Spanish playable civ down the line? Maybe. Or maybe it means that there's definitely not going to be a Spain. I don't know, man. I feel like I kind of wish they just went with something simpler. They just like copied units from other civilizations and called it a day, because that in and of itself would be unique enough. Like a civilization whose whole gimmick is that they get to build units from other civilizations. I guess the Byzantines already kind of have that covered, but it would have been cool to see the Crusaders kind of do a little bit different, do that with a slightly different take. The other unique unit here is the right here. So this looks like the Polish flag, and those are definitely like war picks or pickaxes. I think it's actually the same exact Warhammer model over here, just kind of turned around. Yeah, it looks like the same exact Warhammer model. They just turned it around and they called it a day with like a war pick unit. It kind of reminds me of the Lithuanian unique unit in AOE 2. I don't remember the name of it, but it's like kind of like cavalry unit with a similar helmet design. I think they copied that helmet design from the Byzantine hand cannoneer model, if I had to guess. But it's interesting. It looks like, if I had to guess, this is like an anti-armor light cavalry unit, something that we have kind of seen in the Delhi Ghazi Rider. That's the closest that we got. If this was like even more dedicated to anti-armor, that'd be pretty interesting. It's like a crossbowman on a horse, and we see like preview models of it over here. Oh, that's interesting. So here, this unit right here, I can't tell if it looks the same as this one. Maybe they just didn't take the lance. Maybe it is the same exact unit. They just didn't take the lance over. And then if I had to look here, I wonder, are there other flags here that we can recognize? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that might be the Sicilians from AOE 2. Very similar flag pattern there. I wonder if we're also going to see unique units from there. Last thing I want to call out in this photo is, of course, this thing right here, the fortress. And again, we see the unique flags that are associated with the civilization. Very cool. So it seems like in order to ally with another civilization or get reinforcements from them, you kind of get, you have to age up with them. I am not personally a fan of that. So one of the design philosophies that I had for the Crusader civilization was to really try to mix up the playstyle of civilization. I feel like every single civ in this game needs to be a different kind of playstyle rather than just simply having different kinds of unique units. Like just having unique units isn't enough to truly make the civ feel special or different. So for me, the design of the Crusader civilization was like, you have a very weak economy and your normal growth ramp is very low, but every now and then you would get these like reinforcements, like the Crusaders arrived on your shores and they join your army, and you get this boom, this big spike in power, and you have to basically take advantage of that brief window of opportunity where you can then like capitalize on it and then like go for a big push. That's kind of the way I designed that civilization, and it would play and feel very different from every other civ in the game. I really hope that they end up doing something like that, like having a reinforcement mechanic to kind of like mix up the power curve of this civilization, rather than just simply having like a traditional power curve with just some unique units sprinkled in inside. That would be super disappointing in my opinion. I really hope that the developers kind of mix it up a little bit. This fortress thing, I don't know if I agree with this. There was an image earlier that we saw that had like the fortress in Age 2, so it seems like a kind of keep that you can build starting in Age 2. almost innately makes this civilization more turtle focused, and I don't know how I feel about that. I'm curious if they end up going down that track, or if this serves as like almost like a barracks style unit. I know the command this might be I know they have like a commandery system for this civilization, like the AOE3 commandery for the Malta civilization, which is another Crusader civilization technically. Their commanderies were like both like a defensive structure and also a place where you can build unique units. So maybe that's what this is. This is like a barracks mixed with a pseudo fort or something like that, rather than being a completely strong, a fully powered up keep. Let's take a look at some other images here. So this one's really interesting. On first glance, you can see a lot of the unique units here immediately. This is obviously the Templar Knight. By the time of the Templars, they definitely did not have full metal barding with like heavy plates like this. This is more of like a late medieval thing. But you know, they also didn't have these like jousting lances. But it's Age of Empires. It's not a historically accurate game. We shouldn't be trying to get our history from this game, but historical inspiration is a-okay. And then here we see the Teutonic Knights. Very, very cool heavy infantry. They were featured in the campaign for the Sultan's Ascend. In my modded concept, the idea with the Teutonic Knights is that they were like a super heavy, super slow moving, kind of tanky anti-archer infantry. I felt like that made for a unique identity that we haven't seen yet in the game. Almost like an English men-at-arms, but like on steroids. That was kind of the way I imagined them. I hope they also make them interesting rather than simply just making them like a man-at-arms. Because here we already have the Teutonic men-at-arms, here we already have the Templar men-at-arms, so I hope there's like a big difference between how these two units work. Otherwise, that would be pretty boring. Also, shout out to the fact that we finally get some great helms in this medieval game. That's really cool. Here is a very unique unit. This is it almost looks like an Arbre Latraire in the fact that it has a Pavise shield on its back, very similar to the Arbre Latraires for the French. It also has this like interesting helmet, which kind of looks like a Sallet, but I can't really tell. Or is it called a sallet? I'm not sure. This, I wonder if this is, so if earlier we saw the Sicilians, I wonder if these are either Genoese Pavise crossbowmen, or like, did the Sicilians also have Pavise crossbowmen? I don't think so. So, or at least they weren't super known for it. I'm not sure. Oh, interesting. This shield design, I wonder if that's where the, yeah, okay, right here. Okay, this image, unfortunately, we don't have like super high resolution, but this shield, I don't know if you can tell, but this shield is the exact same kind of shield design that you see here, which looks like a Sicilian unit, and the Sicilians in AoE 2 had sergeants, so I wonder if this is like a sergeant type of unit. It seems to be a heavy infantryman with an axe, and I can't tell if it's, like, everything else is upgraded to age 4. I can't tell if this unit is also upgraded to age 4. It does have like a golden kind of like aventail around its neck. I wonder if that's what this is, or if it's always looking like that. I don't know. Hard to say. We haven't yet seen, I'm trying to think like what units we've seen with axes, melee axes right now in the game. I think the only one that comes to mind, like for single-handed axes, I think the only one that comes to mind is the English H4 landmark heavy infantry unit that I never make, so I don't even remember the name. Yeah, I don't remember the name, but I'm curious to see what they'll do with this kind of unit. For the Persian modded Civ, we had the H2 men-at-arms available called the Daylamites, which were based on these really strong infantry units in the Persian military in the Middle Ages. They were also a one-handed axe-wielding unit, men-at-arms style unit, and I made them good against light infantry in particular, where they have like an attack bonus against light infantry. I wonder what kind of attack bonus these axes will have. Maybe it would also be against light infantry, or maybe it would be like an anti-armor type of thing that you see in some other games. I don't know. Since we already took a peek at this image, we'll just dive a little bit deeper here. A couple things to call out here. It looks like we have French archers. These are typical French archer designs, and then we have the crossbowman design. I'm starting to think these are just standard crossbows. These are the same crossbows that we saw over here. Very similar aesthetic there. And then, is there any other unit that we're missing here? The French archers have the plumes on their helmets. Yeah, everything else looks pretty standard there. I don't know what this guy is. This guy might be a villager back here. And then up here we have the Templar men-at-arms. Oh my god, I'm really counting pixels. This, it looks like the Teutonic men-at-arms. I wonder if they have a Teutonic Grandmaster, because it seems like there's a glow effect here, and some of these units are being improved. Or this unit is exactly the same. It kind of looks exactly the same as all these other units. Maybe since all these units are getting a glow effect, the glow effect might actually be coming from the fortress itself. Oh, there's a catapult on the fortress. In fact, that almost looks like a scaled down version of the Hui Pao model on this fortress. So that's kind of cool. They can actually add like a Hui Pao emplacement on top of the fortress. That's pretty neat. Here's the Sicilian sergeant type units, and then here so this is the typical French spearman. This is a unique spearman right here. This right here is something that we haven't seen before. I wonder if maybe this is a sergeant. I mean, sergeant in the Middle Ages didn't really mean anything in particular. It was a bit of a generic word. So I'm curious, like, what this unit is. This is clearly a kind of like an armored spearman with a shield on its back. If I had to guess, that's just what this unit's identity is. It's an armored spearman. It's a spearman that also has range resist or range armor, which is something that it kind of breaks the triangle of counter system in this game, because typically you need archers to counter spearmen. But if you have a shield on your back, then maybe you can counteract that. So that could be pretty cool. And then everything else here looks pretty typical. We have the Templar Knights, and no other unique units I can spot over here, I don't think. Oh, we see some flags here. Okay, so this looks like the English flag, if I had to guess. These are probably some typical French horsemen right here. This looks like the Teutonic flag. And then this flag, yeah, I'm guessing this is the Sicilian flag. Yeah, the axe-wielding sergeants, it just kind of makes sense. So okay, well, cool. Cool to see their inclusion. And we have one last image here. Let's take a look at this. I don't think there's anything too stand out here. I love the blue color for the Templars rather than the typical red. So it seems to imply that like these are actually the player picked the red color rather than Templars just simply having the red color and just being into that. But now we have the Templars in blue, and the Templar Knights look a lot more friendly as a result of that. These spearmen, I think they're just typical Bossid spearmen, but or a Ubid spearman, but it looks kind of special. It looks kind of different, or I don't know, maybe I'm just imagining that. Pretty typical French archers here, nothing too crazy. These are typical spearmen. Here we have the Templar man-at-arms again, some more Templar knights back here. All these units look pretty standard, nothing too stand out here. Typical archers. Oh, here's an Age 3 version of the crossbowmen. So this is the crossbowmen that we saw the Imperial version of here, that is now in the Age 3 version over here. Okay, so we know that the Templars have access to crossbows. And I think that is it. Okay, so overall thoughts, I think that there are a lot of really cool things coming. I don't like the idea of having this many unique units. It seems like we're already seeing like a ton of like one-off like special unique units for this civilization based on like how they choose to age up. I don't personally, I'm not enamored by that design. I would have preferred like a playstyle difference rather than just simply having unique units as the difference. But I'm curious to see how it actually work. I'm excited about this fortress thing is very, very distinct for this civilization. It seems like the Templars are going to play very differently. I was very surprised to hear that the Templars were a variant civilization rather than simply just being a completely unique civilization. And the House of Lancaster is also, I'm curious to see how it'll play out. Of course, I'm always a big fan of having new civs in the game. I feel like that's one of the funnest parts about this game, is seeing like how the playstyle is different. I think one of the weaknesses that we saw with variant civs previously is that if there's not enough of a compelling difference, it just feels like a bit of a tack on. Like, for instance, like Jeanne d'Arc. Jeanne d'Arc, I would say, like, was one of the more unique approaches, but ultimately they didn't do too much that was unique, so it felt like it was French with also just Jeanne d'Arc attached on top of that, and as a result it still played like French. You still had the same exact builds, and you still had the same exact landmarks, so it almost feels like, do you want to bother with like at least for me, when I'm in the civilization select menu, I'm like, do I want to bother with microing a hero unit? Yes, no, okay, well, if depending on how I feel, then I just pick that. But like, it's not a super inspired choice. I would say the only civilization that really stood out to me as far as the variant civs go is the Order of the Dragon, just because I'm not a big fan of that like concept or of the like that historical concept, like making a whole civilization after that like weird pastiche knightly order, but instead, like the concept of like having Giga Chad units plays very differently from any other civilization in the game, and it makes you think a little bit differently. It also like it also makes it a little bit more interesting compared to like your typical HRE playstyle. So I hope we see more gameplay differences, and I'm excited to see what will change when this DLC drops. I'm not personally miffed about the fact that there's only 2 variant civs being released in this DLC. I know a lot of folks were like, hey, we've been waiting for over a year now, and like finally we get some DLC news, and it's kind of underwhelming to only get 2 variant civs when the previous one gave us 4 and 2 original civs. I think that's okay. I actually am a big fan of the devs kind of like spacing out their release cycle and allowing the variant civs like room to breathe, because like previously when you had all the civs drop at the same time, it made this massive change in the game, and then there's just like nothing in the news cycle for anyone to get excited about for just like a year. So I would rather have like every few months like release another couple variant civs, release another couple like tweaks here and there that like really spices up the game a bit, gets us something to talk about, gets us something to be hyped about, and then drop the big civs in Christmas time and like release that as a full package. This is great for both us like as a community to get excited and like just build momentum. And also it's great for the devs because they get to make more money. I wouldn't mind like paying $10 to $20 for something like this. I think this is fine. I would totally be into that. I think Age of Empires is not really a game made for monetization purposes. I think we already saw Age of Empires Mobile. That was a game made for monetization purposes. So Age of Empires 4, like if you're into this kind of game, like you're going to be willing to spend money on it. So I say give us more content and release it out in a more piecemeal way so that way we can build up the community hype. The last thing I want to say here is before the DLC drops, I'm thinking about doing a tournament for my Crusader modded civilization, and maybe I mean if there's a time to play the modded civilization, it's basically right before the actual Crusader DLC civ drops. So be on the lookout for that, and if you're interested in participating in that tournament, potentially let me know. And of course you can also download the mod at any time. It's already on the mod store right now. All right, that's all from me. Stay frosty out there, stay chilly.